Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam to all the Vaishnavas listening to me. Today is day 3 of reading of Sri Bhakti Vinod Vani Vaibhav, and we'll continue with the third chapter of Sambandh. Before that, we shall offer our prayers in the lotus feet of Srila Gurudev and our previous acharyas. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्त श्रीराधा कान्त नमोस्तुते। तद्काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So the third chapter is the title of the third chapter is Spiritual Master or Acharya. The first question is, what is the symptom of a bona fide spiritual master? Can a person who has accepted a family preceptor take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master? Due to the influence of time, people's conception regarding the spiritual master has been greatly polluted. Nowadays, people take instructions either from a family preceptor or from anyone else, and as a result, they are bereft of the shelter of the most worshipable bona fide spiritual master. It is stated in the scriptures that a person who is inquisitive about his own self and the Supreme Lord should approach and surrender to a spiritual master who is firmly fixed both in the service of Supreme Brahman and in the transcendental sound vibration. Second question is, who is a qualified spiritual master? One who is fully acquainted with and successful in spiritual life is qualified to become a spiritual master. Third question is, should a person accept a spiritual master who is born in a high family? Why is it stated in Hari Bhakti Vilasa that a person should accept a spiritual master who is born in a Brahman family or who is a Grihastha? Knowledge about Krishna is most essential for all living entities. A person who knows the science of Krishna, whether that person is a Brahman, Shudra, Grihastha or Sannyasi, is qualified to become a spiritual master. Sri Hari Bhakti Vilasa instructs one not to take initiation from a person of the lower caste when a qualified person from a higher caste is available. This instruction is meant for Vaishnavas who are independent on the social custom. It is for those who wish to progress on the path of spiritual life according to the worldly rules and regulations. But those who wish to obtain pure devotional service of Krishna by carefully understanding the purport of Vaidhi and Raganuga Bhakti should accept a spiritual master who fully knows the science of Krishna regardless of his Varna or Ashrama. Fourth question is, are the principal qualifications of a spiritual master that he is a Brahman or a householder? Chaitanya Charitamrita states that whether one is a Brahman, a sannyasi, or a Shudra, if he knows the science of Krishna, he is qualified to become a spiritual master. One who possesses the internal or primary quality, he knows the science of Krishna, is qualified to become a spiritual master, even though he does not possess one or two of the external qualities, which are being a Brahman and a householder. It is good if a spiritual master possesses the primary and the two external qualities. But those who lack the primary quality, even though they possess the secondary qualities, cannot become qualified spiritual masters. Fifth question is, what is the difference between taking shelter of the lotus feet of a bona fide spiritual master and taking shelter of a bogus spiritual master? There are two types of gurus, Antaranga or internal and Bahiranga or external. The living entity who is situated in Samadhi is his own internal spiritual master. One who accepts argument as his spiritual master and who learns the process of worship from such a spiritual master is said to have accepted the shelter of a bogus spiritual master. Then argument poses as nourishment for the living entity's constitutional duties. This may be compared to a putana's falsely posing as a nurse. Worshippers on the path of attachment must immerse all arguments in spiritual subjects and take shelter of Samadhi. The external spiritual master is he from whom the science of worship is learned, one who knows the proper path of attachment and who instructs his disciples according to their qualification, is a Sadguru or eternal spiritual master. Sixth question is, according to Vaishnava literature, who is qualified to become Jagat Guru? Vaishnava literature accepts that one who has understood the difference between material and spiritual subjects, matters, and thus learned about transcendental devotional service to Krishna is Jagat Guru. He is qualified to instruct all living entities and he is completely aloof from the consideration of Varna and Ashrama. Seventh question is, what is the basic qualification of a bona fide spiritual master? The qualification of a bona fide spiritual master is that he knows the science of Krishna and lives outside the consideration of Varnashrama. Eighth question is, what does a bona fide spiritual master instruct his disciple? Pure spiritual knowledge is glorified everywhere in Vaishnava culture. Everywhere in Vaishnava literature. In the teachings of Mahaprabhu, three topics are prominently discussed. They are knowledge of one's relationship with Supreme Lord, the process of achieving the goal of life, and the goal of life. Sambandh is understanding the Supreme Lord, the living entity, the material world, and the relationships between them. Anyone who properly instructs his disciple about Sambandha and trains him in the process of achieving the goal of life is a bona fide spiritual master. After receiving this knowledge, a living entity needs no other knowledge. All kinds of scientific and theoretical knowledge of this world are automatically known to him. Ninth question is, what is the difference between the spiritual master who gives initiation mantra and the spiritual master who gives Harinama? The Nam Guru, the spiritual master who gives Harinam, teaches his disciples about the supremacy of holy names and gives mantras consisting of the holy names. The Diksha Guru is non-different from the Nam Guru because the mantras are non-different from the holy name. If mantras are separated from the holy name, they are no longer mantras. By simply uttering the holy names, one automatically utters the mantras. 10th question is, how should a disciple treat his spiritual master? A disciple should accept his spiritual master as the manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and should never consider him an ordinary human being. 11th question is, do the spiritual masters, after they disappear, bestow their mercy upon the living entities? The souls of great thinkers of bygone age who now live spiritually often approach an inquiring spirit and assist him in his development. 12th question, who is an Acharya? What are the duties of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas? One who follows religious principles and teaches others is an Acharya. One cannot become an Acharya by simply creating arguments and thereby making worldly advancements. Those who have been entrusted with the responsibility of being Acharyas in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya should try to remove all anarth from their Sampradaya. 13th question is, what is the primary duty of the sons of the Acharyas? Various types of anarth have been surfaced in the Gaudiya Sampradaya in the last 400 years. The primary duty of all the sons of Acharyas is to totally uproot those anarthas. 14th question, how do living entities gain faith in an Acharya? Those who act as Acharyas must first follow the religious path. Then, by exhibiting their own behavior, they attract the attention and faith of other living entities. Only by proper conduct are the Acharyas respectfully accepted by one and all. 15th question is it proper to call cheaters or persons opposed to Krishna the sons of Vaishnava Acharyas? Every Vaishnava is our master. Wherever there is devotional service, there is lordship. But family prestige is not a limb of devotional service. Some time ago, a person told us that Advaita Acharya, the husband of Sita, rejected all his sons except Achyutananda because they were averse to Gora. Therefore, only Achyutananda was qualified to be addressed as Goswami. Another time, a person said that Sri Veerachandra Prabhu, the son of Nityananda, had no sons. Nobody should be addressed as the descendant of Nityananda, and the Goswamis of Khadaraha cannot be addressed as Prabhus. We are also hearing that the Goswamis of Bhaganapada should not be called Prabhus either because they were disciples of Sri Janava Mata. We do not wish to hear such false arguments. We worship all Vaishnavas as non-different from Krishna, and we show due respect to the descendants of the Acharyas. However, we can never show respect to the descendants of the Acharyas who are either opposed to Krishna or have been converted into another religion. Can we show respect to a Brahmana who has changed his religion and become a Christian? Similarly, if a descendant of an Acharya gives up his occupational duties, then he can no longer expect any family prestige. 16th question is, can a learned person who does not know the conclusion of devotional service be called an Acharya? Before the birth of Sriman Mahaprabhu, Devananda Pandit was famous as an Acharya because of his explanations on Srimad Bhagavatam. Being a teacher and a preacher of devotional service himself, Mahaprabhu became extremely displeased upon hearing the non-devotional explanation of Devananda Pandit. Later, Devananda Pandit realized the science of pure devotional service by the mercy of Vakreshwara Pandit. 17th question. What harm is caused if one acts against the conclusion of devotional service? A Vaishnava who acts against the conclusion of devotional service is the root cause of anartha within the Sampradaya. 18th question is, if an Acharya or a spiritual master criticizes the improper conclusions of devotional service, will he be considered a prajalpi or gossiper? Sukadev Goswami did not become a prajalpi even though he discussed the materialists to instruct his disciples. Therefore, such activities should be accepted as beneficial. Moreover, to instruct his disciples, Sriman Mahaprabhu discussed the false renunciates. 19th question is, are there any differences of opinion among the acharyas? Whatever a self-realized soul in India will speak, a self-realized soul in another part of the world will speak. A devotee in Vaikuntha will also speak the same thing because there are no material qualities in the conclusions of pure liberated souls. Therefore, the conclusions cannot be different. 20th question is, does an acharya give initiation without any consideration? The worshipable qualified acharyas should give initiation to the qualified candidates. Although in Sri Hari Bhakti Vilasa, the method for testing each other is recommended, it is not often practiced. This is why the fall of both spiritual master and the disciple, as well as pollution of the Sampradaya, becomes inevitable. 21st question. Can a householder become an acharya? Among the householder devotees, only those who are an expert in executing the 9 types of devotional service are qualified to take the position of an acharya. 22nd question. Should a household set the example of awarding sannyasa? When the devotee householders act as acharya and award mantras and symbols of sannyas, great inauspiciousness is created for the recipient of sannyasa. 23rd question. Do the acharyas have any faults? There are no faults in the activities of the Mahajanas. 24th question is, why do people criticize even an extremely qualified acharya? Even though Sri Nityananda Prabhu, the acharya of all acharyas, was an avadhuta, he never displayed any sinful behavior. Those who say that the Lord was sinful are abominable. Sinful persons attribute false faults in the character of the acharya and try to prove their own faults as qualifications. Alas, O Kali, whatever you have promised, you have done. Some artificial Vaishnavas say that Sri Nityananda Prabhu was a meat and fish eater and accuse Sri Mahaprabhu, the personification of religious principles, of associating with women and thus call him a paramour. They also cheat the people of the world by falsely accusing pure devotees such as Sri Rupa Goswami and Sri Ramananda Rai of associating with women. This completes the 3rd chapter. The 4th chapter is about our previous acharyas. Why are the 4 authorized Sampradaya acharyas distinguished from each other? This is our first question. Sri Ramanuja, Sri Madhava, Sri Vishnu Swami and Sri Nimbaditya are the 4 Vaishnava acharyas. Many others also became Vaishnava acharyas, and they are certainly followers of one of the 4 above mentioned acharyas. Sri Ramanuja is the propounder of Visistha Advaita philosophy. Sri Madhava is the propounder of Shuddha philosophy. Sri Vishnu Swami is the propounder of Shuddha Advaita philosophy. And Sri Nimbatitya is the propounder of Dvaitaditya philosophy. Second question is, what preaching responsibility did Sri Gaurasundar entrust upon Sri Nityananda, Sri Advait, Sri Rup, Sri Sanatan, Sri Jeev Goswami and others? Shriman Mahaprabhu empowered and ordered all Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Advaita Prabhu to preach the glories of the Lord's holy name. He empowered and ordered Sri Rupa Goswami to reveal the science of the mellows of devotional service. He ordered Sri Sanatan Goswami to preach about Vaidhi Bhakti and its relationship with Raganuga Bhakti. He also ordered Sri Sanatan Goswami to reveal the relationship between the manifest and unmanifest pastimes of Gokul. He empowered Sri Jeev Goswami through Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Sanatana to reveal the science of Sambandha, Abhideya and Prayojana. Third question is, what responsibility was entrusted to Sri Swarupa Damodar Goswami? Shriman Mahaprabhu ordered Sri Swarupa Damodar to teach worship of the Lord through loving devotional service. According to the Lord's order, Sri Swarupa Damodar composed his Kadacha or writings in two parts. He described worshipping the Lord in the mood of transcendental mellows by the internal path in the first part and by the external path in the second part. He imparted the internal path to Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, who revealed it in his books, and he imparted the external path to Srimad Varkeshwara Goswami. Fourth question. Rai Ramananda was entrusted to spread the science of the mellows of devotional service. Who completed that responsibility? The responsibility of preaching the science of mellows of devotional service, which Shriman Mahaprabhu entrusted to Rai Ramananda, was completed by Sri Rupa Goswami. Fifth question. Who is the commander-in-chief of the Gaudiya Acharyas? Sri Sanatan Goswami was the commander-in-chief of our Gaudiya Acharyas. Sixth question. Why are all the Vaishnavas eternally indebted to Sri Sanatan? After fully empowering Sri Sanatan, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sent him from Kashi to Sri Vrindavana to rediscover the lost holy places. Being fully ecstatic on receiving the mercy of Mahaprabhu, Sri Sanatan went to Vrindavan and met his brother Sri Rupa and other devotees. Thereafter he discovered many holy places in Vrindavan, inaugurated deity worship, and compiled many literature glorifying devotional service to the Lord. O readers, the entire Vaishnava society is indeed eternally indebted to the Goswamis, headed by Sri Sanatana. Seventh question is, what are the activities and preaching of Sri Rupa? Sri Rupa heard the name Mahaprabhu, the son of Sachi, and the moon-like personality of Navadvipa. And from that day, Sri Rupa felt pain in his heart because of his intense desire to see Mahaprabhu. On his way to Sri Vrindavan, Sri Chaitanya Dev, who is fully acquainted with the heart of his devotees and who is super soul of everyone, came to the village Ramakeli and gave darshan to Sri Rupa. After seeing Mahaprabhu, Sri Rupa considered his life successful and became merged in the ocean of transcendental bliss. The illusory energy of the Lord can never bind the eternally liberated devotees of Krishna. Within a few days of their meeting, Sri Rupa gave up the desire for material happiness, and being fully detached, he went to the holy place of Prayag and fell at the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu empowered Sri Rupa by bestowing mercy on him, and after instructing him on the subject of transcendental mellows, Mahaprabhu sent him to Sri Vrindavan to discover the lost holy places. Taking the instructions of Mahaprabhu as his life and soul, Sri Rupa went to Vraja. In Vraja, after meeting all the devotees, he discovered the lost holy places and inaugurated the deity worship of the Lord. Thereafter, with a desire to benefit the living entities of this age of Kali, who are bewildered by their sinful activities and threefold material miseries, he composed many books based on the teachings of Sriman Mahaprabhu. Some of his books are Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Laghu Bhagavatamrit, Ham Sadatu, Uddhav Sandesh, Krishna Janma Tithi Vidhi, Laghu and Brahat Ganodisya Deepika, Stava Matla Vidagdha Madhava, Lalit Madhava, Danakeli Kaumudi, Ujjvala Neelmani, प्रयुक्तक्या चंद्रिका, मथुरा महत्व, पद्यावली and नाटक चंद्रिका. Sri Gauranga Deva, the deliverer of the fallen souls, preached humility through Rupa and Sanatan, detachment from Swarupa Damodara, tolerance through Haridas Thakur, and self-control through Ramananda Rai. According to the statements of some devotees, Mahaprabhu preached about his pastimes through Sri Rupa, devotional service through Sri Sanatan, and the glories of holy names through Haridas Thakur, and the love of God through Rai Ramananda. We have no argument in this regard. However, the sad part is that many mundane sahajiyas such as Nedas, Bolas, Kartabhajas, and Rasikas Sekharas unlawfully claim that those great souls are acharyas of their respective line, and therefore many civilized persons do not have faith in the most sanctified philosophy of Vaishnavism preached by Mahaprabhu. Eighth question is, are the conclusions of Sri Rupa acceptable to all? Sri Rupa has always established his conclusions with reason and scriptural evidence. Followers of different sampradayas do not like to accept many of his conclusions, but those who follow the path of worship to attain the platform of pure goodness certainly respect the conclusions of Sri Rupa. Ninth question is Raghunath Das Goswami a follower of Sri Rupa? Sri Krishna Chaitanya, the Lord of Sannyasis, lived in the Neela Kala in the guise of sannyasi. He enjoyed spiritual bliss in the association of Swarupa Damodar and Ramananda Rai, and revealed to them the most confidential subject matter. He taught this same spiritual truth to Raghunath and sent him to Sri Rupa. Sri Raghunath Das Goswami worshipped Krishna in Vraja in the association of Sri Rupa and composed the famous book Mana Shiksha. 10th question is, what responsibility did Mahaprabhu entrust to Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami? Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami was entrusted to preach the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. 11th question is, what was the responsibility of Srila Gopala Bhatta Goswami? His responsibility was to prevent anyone disregarding the process of Vaidhi Bhakti and distorting the truth of the mellows of pure devotional service. 12th question is, what responsibility was entrusted to Srila Prabhupada Saraswat? His responsibility was to preach to the world that worship on the path of Raga according to the moods of Vrajavasis, is the highest of all. 13th question is, what was Sarvabhauma's responsibility? Lord Chaitanya entrusted Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya to spread knowledge about the absolute truth. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya passed on his knowledge through one of his disciples to Sri Jiva. 14th question, what was the responsibility entrusted to Gaudiya Vaishnavas? Gaudiya Vaishnavas were instructed to reveal to the living entities the truth about Sri Gaura and to awaken their faith in Krishna. The Lord also ordered some great devotees to perform and engage others in performing ecstatic kirtan, glorifying the pastimes of the Lord. 15th question, who is the Acharya or the authority on the science of absolute truth in Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya? Sri Jiva Goswami Pada is our Acharya or authority on the science of absolute truth. He was always situated under the care and guidance of Sri Rupa and Sri Sanatan. 16th question, what are the characteristics of Sri Jiva Goswami? Just by hearing the name Sri Jiva Goswami, the hearts of Vaishnavas begin to dance in ecstasy. Sri Jiva Goswami studied all the devotional literature from Sri Rupa. Within a short time, Sri Jiva Goswami was accepted as the only Acharya or authority on literature regarding the absolute truth in Gaudiya Sampradaya. Sri Jiva Goswami did not leave Sri Vrindavan Dhama. During his stay in Vrindavan, Sri Jiva Goswami composed 25 books. In the Vedanta philosophy, there was no one equal to Sri Jiva at that time. It is said that once Sri Vallabhacharya, who belongs to the Vishnu Swami Sampradaya, showed his book Tattva Deepa to Sri Jiva. Sri Jiva pointed out many impersonal thoughts in his book and exposed Sri Vallabhacharya's disgraceful opinion. Later, Sri Vallabhacharya amended the major portion of his book according to the guidance of Sri Jiva. The Sat Sandarbha written by Sri Jiva is a jewel in this world. If someone properly understands the Sat Sandarbha, no Vedic conclusions remain unknown to him. 17th question is, what are the characteristics of Sri Gopala Bhatta Goswami? From his childhood, Gopala Bhatta was a staunch follower of Vaishnava religion. He properly studied the Vedas and other Vedic literature from his uncle Sri Prabodhananda Saraswat, who was a wandering mendicant. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu travelled to South India to bestow his mercy on the residents there, he met Gopala Bhatta. When they met, Gopala Bhatta took shelter at Sri Mahaprabhu's lotus feet. The most merciful Mahaprabhu empowered him by showing special mercy upon him. On the strength of his empowerment, Gopala Bhatta left home, went to Sri Vrindavan, and in association of Sri Rupa, discovered many lost holy places of Sri Vrindavan and compiled many books on devotional service and Vaishnava Smriti. By the order of Sri Rupa, he manifested the service of Sri Radharaman in Vrindavan. 18th question, who is Sri Jahannava Devi? How did she benefit the Vaishnava society? The appearance festival of Srimati Jahannava Devi is very auspicious for the pure devotees who are attached to the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya. In the year 1409 or 1410 of Saka era, Sri Jahannava Devi appeared at Ambika Kalana from the womb of Bhadravati, the fortunate wife of Sri Suryadasa Pandit, who was a dear associate of Mahaprabhu. In dear course of time, Sri Nityananda Prabhu married Sri Jahannava and her elder sister Srimati Vasudha Devi, who were adorned with all divine qualities. In approximately 1465, Saka Janava Devi adopted as her son Ramachandra, the grandson of Sri Vamsi Vadananda and the son of Sri Chaitanya, and therefore she gave him initiation. The many wonderful activities performed by Sri Janava Devi, who was the energy of Sri Nityananda Prabhu and who was non-different from Ananga Manjari, are almost unknown to the Vaishnava society. 19th question is, who is the original emperor of the empire of pure devotional literature? Thakur Vrindavan Das was not only a jewel in Vaishnava society but also an ornament in the society of Bengali literature. Just as the poet Chaukhar is highly regarded among the English-speaking people, similarly Thakur Vrindavan Das should be highly regarded among the Bengali-speaking people. Actually, before Thakur Vrindavan Das, no one composed any book of poems regarding pure devotional service in Bengali. His chaste mother, Narayani, was worshipable by all the Vaishnavas, and there is no doubt that Vrindavan Das Thakur was an incarnation of Vyasadeva. 20th question is, what beneficial activity did Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami perform for the world? Kaviraj Goswami was a learned scholar of all the scriptures. This is easily realized by reading his books Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Govind Leelamrita and his Saranga Rangada commentary on Sri Krishna Karnamrita. Srila Kaviraj Goswami was a great devotee and one of the principal scholars in the Sampradaya of Sri Chaitanya Dev. We do not need to provide this statement. The books written by Kaviraj Goswami are proof of this. One becomes struck with wonder by seeing the unlimited glories of Kaviraj. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is an extremely wonderful book, compiled out of compassion for persons who have no knowledge of Sanskrit. In our opinion, if Kaviraj Goswami did not exhibit such compassion, then persons who are ignorant of scriptural knowledge and philosophy would never know the eternal Vaishnava religion instructed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Who knows what would have been their fate? Kaviraj, you are glorious. Learned and ignorant devotees of the Vaishnava Sampradaya are indebted to you. How much can we sing about your glories with 1 month? The pure Vaishnavas are always singing your qualities. O Kaviraj, which atheist will not like to take shelter of your lotus feet if he remembers your perfect words? You have said in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 2.87, ये बा नहीं बुझे केहे सुनीते सुनीते सेहा कि अद्भुत चैतन्य चरिता कृष्णे उपबीजे प्रीते जानिबे रसेरा रीति सुनीले बड़ा है हिता. Which means if one does not understand in the beginning but continues to hear again and again, the wonderful effects of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes will bring love for Krishna. Gradually, one will come to understand the loving affairs between Krishna and the gopis and other associates of Vrindavan. Everyone is advised to continue to hear over and over again in order to greatly benefit. One of the strength of such perfect words, many foolish persons in the Vaishnava Sampradaya are becoming greatly qualified to understand Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. O Kaviraj, we offer innumerable obeisances at your lotus feet. 21st question. What benefit did Srinivasa Acharya Prabhu do for the society of Gaudiya Vaishnavas? In his childhood, Srinivasa heard about transcendental qualities of Mahaprabhu from the mouth of his own father, who was surrendered soul at the feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and who took shelter of him. As soon as Srinivasa reached boyhood, he took permission from his parents and accepted the renounced order of life. Thereafter, he went to Sri Navadvipa Dhama with a desire to see Srimati Vishnupriya Thakurani, the consort of Mahaprabhu, and Sri Vamsiva Nanda Prabhu, who was her guard and a favorite of Mahaprabhu. Srinivasa also wanted to visit all the places of Mahaprabhu's pastimes. After arriving in Navadvipa, he stayed at the house of Sri Vishnupriya Mata for a few days and heard topics about Mahaprabhu. Then he visited the places of Mahaprabhu's pastimes in the company of Vamasivananda Prabhu. Therefore, he took leave of Vishnupriya and Vamasivananda. He visited 12 birth sites of renowned Vaishnavas and other places where the devotees of Chaitanya were residing. After meeting and associating with devotees for some time, he went to Sri Purushottama Dhama. Srinivas returned from Purushottama to Gauramandala and stayed there for some time. When he departed from Sri Vrindavan Dham for darshana, after arriving in Braja, Srinivas met with Goswamis. He visited all the holy places in Braja in their association and began to relish newer and newer sentiments. After residing in Braja for a long time, he returned to the spiritual abode of Gauramandala and delivered to all the sinful people. So that would be all for today's session. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Hari Hari Bol. धन्यवाद.